Hi, I bump into quite a lot of people in my travels who say that they can compose a melody. They may even be able to get some chords together that fit the melody, but they're not sort of quite sure how to deal with providing an accompaniment, whether that's on the piano because it's all a piano piece, or whether it's accompanying an instrumentalist or a singer. So let's have a little think about how you might do it, because you've got your melody here, you've got some chords, whether you want to read your chords this way or whether you want to read them in Roman numerals, there they are. You could change the chords if you wanted to, that's absolutely fine. But it can be a little bit clunky if you just play the chords underneath this melody, because you get something that goes something like this. Which sort of sounds okay at one level because all the chords fit the melody, but it's not terribly exciting as an accompaniment figure, is it? And one thing that happens on the keyboard, of course, is if you get lots of notes close together, low down, they tend to sound a bit sort of thick and grumpy, these kind of chords. And one thing you might want to do is just space out the chords. So even if you were going to do chords in that kind of block chord way, just space them out so we haven't got clunks of chords in the left hand. And what sometimes people do when they're composing or just sort of improvising, doodling at the piano, is they often have one note in the right hand, which is the tune, and then they have 3 or 4 notes in the left hand, which are the chords. Now, one thing you can do is reverse that. So you try to get more notes into the right hand and fewer notes into the left hand, which gets the chords a bit higher. Now that means you've got to play the melody and the chords in the right hand, but sometimes instead of 1 note in the right hand, 3 notes in the left hand, you might try to get 3 notes in the right hand, 1 note in the left hand, and it's amazing the positive impact that has on the texture, on the sound of the music. So let me try and do that again with just those kind of block chords, but this time putting many more notes into the right hand. And hopefully you can already hear that that sound is much improved, isn't it? Now, another thing you could do is to use those kind of block chords, but to get a little bit more movement into the rhythm somehow. Now, you could do that by having some kind of busy figure in the left hand, like that's called an Alberti bass, where you take a bottom note, top note, middle note, top note, and you kind of break up the chords doing that. Now, you may not want to do it with every single chord, but you could do something like this. And of course, you don't have to have lots of notes all playing at the same time if you've got something like an Alberti bass, because you're taking a chord and you're just breaking it up. So you could do something like this. So you see that has a very different effect, doesn't it? Because I've basically used Alberti bass there, but I haven't always used the Alberti pattern. Sometimes I've just gone up, straight up and down the chord using some semi-quavers there. I could do that if that seems a bit fiddly to you. We could do it just using quavers. And actually that gives you a slightly gentler approach, doesn't it? You could use other rhythms, like you could do it in triplets. But you know, just the idea of taking those chords and breaking them up in some way. If you want to go back to the kind of block chord thing that we had at the beginning, you could do that, but a combination of the block chords and breaking up the chords. So you could do something like this. And it's amazing, isn't it, how it lifts that melody using the same chords, but just to do the accompaniment in various different styles. But there we are, just a quick tip in different ways of using a chord scheme that you've got with a melody that you've got to provide a very different kind of effect in terms of accompaniment style. Have fun with it.